It all started with a feeling, a gnawing instinct that was impossible to shake. When your wife starts looking like she's getting ready to walk the red carpet, but she's actually just going to the grocery store, something's not right. And when she guards her phone like a secret weapon, you realize the trust you've built is starting to crumble. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found out. One forgotten phone, one wrong move, and I discovered her brazen betrayal. Lies and a hidden family came to light. And what did I do, you ask? I wasn't going to just sit there and watch. No, I wasn't going to let them get away with it. And I wasn't alone. The way we did it, top notch. You have no idea the look on her face when we did it. This is a story about justice. Cold, clean, and final. Let's go. Laura, my wife of 8 years, had always been down to earth, a simple girl who didn't mind wearing jeans and a hoodie for most days. Hell, I liked that about her. But then, out of nowhere, she started slipping into tight dresses and heels just to go to the store. And it wasn't just once. It was every damn time she left the house. Every time she went to the market, she'd put on some outfit that made her look like she was trying to turn heads. The way her heels clicked against the hardwood floor when she'd head out, it made me feel like I was watching some stranger leave, not my wife. At first, I thought maybe I was just being paranoid. I mean, we'd been together for 8 years, and that's a long time. We'd been through a lot, highs, lows, and everything in between. I figured maybe I was just imagining things, or maybe I was just seeing patterns that weren't there. But the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. Something didn't feel right. My gut kept twisting every time she'd slip out that door, and I'd be left sitting there, watching her walk away, not knowing where she was going or what she was up to. And it wasn't just her clothes that bothered me. Hell, that was just the start. It was her damn phone. The thing was practically glued to her hand. She'd be in the kitchen, cooking dinner, and there she was, grinning down at the screen. I'd ask her what was so funny, and she'd just wave me off, like it was no big deal. Oh, just a funny meme, she'd say with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. But it wasn't just the way she'd laugh at her phone. No, it was the way she guarded it. The way she'd protect it like it was some kind of treasure. If I even came near it, she'd jump up and grab it like I was about to swipe $1 million. If she went to the bathroom, she'd make sure to take it with her. If we were sitting on the couch together, her phone was always in her lap, and her fingers would fly across the screen like she was typing up a storm. But when I'd ask, she'd just say she was talking to a friend or chatting with her mom. It didn't take me long to catch on that something wasn't right. The laughs weren't just laughs anymore. The funny memes weren't funny. And the secrecy? That didn't sit well with me. It's funny how little things like that start to add up, isn't it? You don't notice the small cracks at first, but when you do, it feels like the whole damn foundation's crumbling. I didn't want to be the guy who jumped to conclusions, but damn it, something was off. My gut was telling me loud and clear that I wasn't imagining things. Then one evening, it hit me. She had a girls' night planned, just like she did every so often, but this time, it was different. She'd been acting distant all week, barely talking to me or even looking my way. The usual closeness we had seemed to be slip-sliding away. When she was getting ready that night, she put on this tight little black dress and, for the first time in months, threw on a pair of heels that made her legs look miles long. Her hair was all done up, and her makeup, God, her makeup. It wasn't just the usual, I'm heading out to dinner look. This was the kind of face you put on when you were ready to take on the world, when you were ready to be the center of attention. I asked her, "Where you heading tonight, honey?" Looking all fancy. She just smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. "Girls' night," she said, like that was all the explanation I needed. I watched her walk out the door, and for the first time, I felt like I didn't even know her anymore. I didn't feel the love I used to. I didn't feel the warmth. All I could feel was that cold, nagging feeling in my chest. She left, and I sat there, staring at the door, feeling more alone than I'd ever felt in my life. I ain't the smartest guy in the room, but I've learned to trust my gut. And right then, it was telling me I was on the verge of finding out something I wasn't ready for. One day Laura was in the bathroom, getting herself ready for another one of those girls' nights she seemed to have every few weeks now. I wasn't trying to be suspicious. I wasn't the kind of guy who snooped through things. But when you've been married to someone for 8 years and everything starts changing, you start wondering where the hell you went wrong. I'd been trying to ignore the little signs, the late nights, the constant texting, her sudden obsession with how she looked every time she left the house. But tonight, that gut feeling got louder. It wouldn't let me be. It gnawed at me like a dog with a bone. Her phone sat there on the nightstand, charging, unlocked. I didn't even think twice about it. I just reached for it, my hands trembling like they were in on some dirty little secret. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have just let it go. But curiosity got the best of me, and at that moment, I felt like I was drowning. So, I opened the damn thing. There's something about a phone that doesn't belong to you. It's like a door that's been cracked open just enough for you to see what's behind it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I didn't know what I was expecting. A message from a friend? A work email? Hell, maybe even a text from her mom? But what I found made my heart drop. It started with the usual stuff, texts from her friends, updates about what time they were all meeting, complaints about work, things that seemed normal. But as I scrolled down, my stomach twisted. I came across a name that made me pause. It was just a first name, Derek. Nothing to make me suspicious, at least not at first. But then I kept reading, and the words started to hit me like a damn freight train. There were messages back and forth between Laura and Derek, and let me tell you, they were anything but innocent. The first message I saw was a picture of her, a selfie from the gym. She looked good, no doubt about it, but something about it felt wrong. Her smile, the way she was holding the phone just a little too close, the way she was looking at the camera, it didn't sit right. I scrolled down, my hand shaking harder now, and it got worse. Way worse. There were messages, sweet nothings, exchanged between them. She was calling him handsome and cute, telling him how she couldn't wait to see him again. He was sending her pictures, 2 images of his sweaty, shirtless self after a workout, like it was some kind of performance. And she was eating it up. One message caught my eye. Can't wait to feel your hands on me again. It hit me like a slap in the face. My vision blurred, and for a second, I didn't even know where I was. I almost dropped the phone, but I couldn't stop. I kept scrolling, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind racing a million miles a minute. Then I found it. The one text that cut me to the bone. She had sent him a picture, and it wasn't just a regular photo. It was a picture of her in one of her tight workout outfits, smirking at the camera like she was some damn model. And in the caption, she'd written, "For you, babe. I hope you like it." I froze. I don't even know how long I sat there, looking at that message. It felt like I was trapped in some kind of nightmare. It was like everything had shifted. All the little things that had bothered me over the last few months, the late nights, the phone glued to her hand, the extra attention she'd been giving her appearance, suddenly made sense. It was all leading to this. To Derek. To the betrayal that had been happening right under my nose. I was a damn fool, and I couldn't even argue with myself. I should have seen it coming. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, wanted to smash it into pieces, but something held me back. Part of me wanted to confront her right then and there, but I wasn't stupid. I wasn't gonna let her off the hook that easily. No, I needed to know more. I needed to know how deep this went. Who was Derek? How long had this been happening? What the hell had she been doing behind my back? I put the phone down on the bed and stood up. My head was spinning. I could hear the shower running in the bathroom. Laura was getting ready, completely unaware that everything between us was about to change. I could have walked in there and confronted her. I could have demanded the truth. But I knew better. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose control. Not yet. Instead, I sat back down on the bed, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. I wasn't sure what to do next, but I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. I wasn't gonna let this go. Not now, not ever. And the next time she walked out that door, it wasn't gonna be the same. I was done playing the fool. So, I turned into a damn private eye overnight. I don't know what made me do it. I guess it was the need for answers, the need to make sense of all this. I had a gut feeling that everything I thought I knew about Laura, about our life together, was a lie. If she'd been talking to this guy, there had to be more to it than just a couple of messages. I had to find out everything I could, and nothing was going to stop me. I started with the basics. I opened up Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Hell, I went through every social media platform I could think of. You'd be surprised what you can find when you start digging. People love to put their lives online, and damn it, I was going to take advantage of that. The first thing I found was his name, Derek Johnson. Nothing too special about it at first. Just another name, just another face in a sea of people. But as I kept scrolling through his profile, I started piecing things together. Derek wasn't just some random guy. He wasn't some passing flirtation or a guy she met at the gym once. No, Derek was a local electrician, someone who had his life all laid out. He had a family, kids, a wife. His wife. I found her Facebook profile next. Emily Johnson. She had the kind of face that would make you think she belonged in a Hallmark movie. Sweet, innocent, the kind of woman who'd bake cookies for the PTA and volunteer at every damn school event. The pictures on her profile were like something out of a 1950s ad. Family photos, happy kids, weekend trips to the beach. Smiles everywhere. You could practically hear the laughter jumping off the screen. And then it hit me like a truck. This woman, this family, none of them deserved this. Emily didn't deserve to have her trust shattered. Those two kids didn't deserve to grow up in a home where their dad was running around behind their mother's back. And I sure as hell didn't deserve to be left in the dark while my own wife was pulling the wool over my eyes. I kept digging. Facebook led me to Instagram, and from there, I dug deeper. Derek had posted pictures of him and his family trips, cookouts, all that. It seemed like the perfect life, the kind of life that a lot of folks dream of. And all the while, I was sitting there, feeling like the damn fool for not seeing it sooner. I wasn't proud of what I was doing, but it felt like I had no choice. I needed the answers, and I needed them now. My fingers were flying across the keyboard as I searched for anything I could find about him, about them, about their lives. And the more I found, the worse it got. It didn't take long to find out that Derek had been married to Emily for over a decade. They had 2 kids, a son and a daughter. From all appearances, their life seemed perfect. The kind of life that you'd see in magazines, the kind of family people envied. There were pictures of them at the zoo, at amusement parks, at their kids' soccer games. Normal, happy stuff. And here I was, sitting at my desk in the middle of the night, staring at these pictures, feeling like my world was crumbling. I don't know why, but I spent hours going through their profiles, looking at the family photos, seeing how perfect everything looked. And the more I looked, the more I felt like the scum of the earth. Here I was, digging into someone else's family, and for what? To make sense of my own broken heart? To put a face to the guy who had been messing with my wife? Maybe. I found an old post from Emily, a thank you message to Derek on their anniversary. It was all sappy and sweet, talking about how lucky she was to have him, how they'd built a life together, how their kids were their greatest joy. It made my stomach turn. The irony of it was almost unbearable. Here they were, loving each other, building a family, while he was out messing with mine. And Laura, my own wife, was right there with him, acting like I was the last person on earth who mattered. But I couldn't back off now. I needed to know how deep this went. I needed to know what kind of man Derek really was, how long this had been going on. If Laura had been talking to him like this, how long had they been seeing each other behind my back? I had to get more answers. And when you're in my position, you stop care about right or wrong. You just need to know the truth, no matter how ugly it is. I found Derek's work page next. There he was, listed as a licensed electrician in the area, with a number of good reviews and a couple of buddies giving him praise for his work. He seemed like a stand-up guy on paper. Honest, hard-working, the type you'd trust to fix your lights or wire your house. But when I saw his face, his smirk, the way he looked in all the pictures with Laura, I couldn't help but feel disgusted. I thought about what his wife, Emily, would do if she ever found out. How would she feel? How would their kids feel? How would I feel if the roles were reversed? I wasn't sure where to go from here, but I knew one thing. I was getting closer. And once I had all the pieces, there was no turning back. I don't know what I expected when I messaged Emily. Maybe I thought she'd dismiss it, call me crazy, tell me to mind my own business. But in my gut, I knew she had to know. After all, Derek wasn't the type of guy to keep something like this a secret. He had to have been playing her just like he played me. So I took a deep breath, set my pride aside, and typed out a message. I tried to keep it simple at first, but the more I thought about it, the more the words kept coming. I didn't want to drop the bomb too quickly, but at the same time, I had to. Time was ticking, and I couldn't let this go on any longer. Hey, Emily, this is going to be hard to hear, but you need to know something about your husband, I wrote, my fingers shaking as I typed. I'm sorry to do this, but Laura, my wife, has been talking to Derek. And not just talking, there's something else going on. I don't know how to say this, but I think you deserve the truth. I was sick to my stomach, but I hit send anyway. My heart was racing like I was about to be caught in the act of something I didn't even do. I waited and waited. Every second felt like an eternity. I stared at the screen, my mind racing, praying she wouldn't just shut me down. It took a minute, but she finally responded. The first message came in like a punch to the gut. What are you talking about? What proof do you have? She was skeptical, and I understood. Hell, I probably would have been, too, if someone had come to me with a message like that. I knew I had to show her prove it beyond a doubt. So, I did what I thought was best. I sent her the screenshots. Every text, every picture, everything I had found in Laura's phone. I sent it all. The response came quick. She was silent for a moment, then. I can't believe this. You're sure? I thought about it for a second. Sure. Hell, yeah, I was sure. I'd seen it with my own eyes. But I knew that wasn't going to be enough. She needed to see it for herself. She had every right to be in shock, to question everything. This wasn't just a betrayal between us, it was between them, too. Yes, I typed back. I've seen the messages. She's calling him daddy. They're more than just friends. It didn't take long after that for her to reply. Her words were sharp, like she was trying to make sense of the chaos she was now thrown into. I need time to process this. I understood. Hell, I needed time to process it too. The anger, the hurt, the humiliation, it all hit me at once, and I was sure she felt the same. But there wasn't time for processing. We both knew that. We talked late into the night, mostly in fits and starts, with long silences in between, as we both tried to wrap our heads around what had just been uncovered. There was no screaming, no shouting. I expected her to yell at me, to call me names, maybe even tell me I was crazy. But none of that came. Instead, there was something different, something colder, a sense of resolve, even if it was just beginning to form. We talked about what we were going to do next. The plan wasn't about revenge. Neither of us were out for that. I didn't need to make a spectacle out of it, and neither did Emily. This wasn't about humbling Derek or humiliating Laura. This wasn't about destroying their lives. It was about justice. Cold, clean, and final. They needed to understand that the consequences of their actions weren't something they could just walk away from. I don't want to just blow this up, Emily said, her voice a little shaky over text. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. I could hear it in her words. She wasn't just looking for drama. She wasn't looking for some sort of public spectacle. She wanted the truth to come out, and she wanted it to happen without any more hurt than necessary. I respected that. I was the same way. I didn't want the mess. But I sure as hell wasn't gonna let them get away with it. I get that. I typed back. I don't want the drama either. We need to make sure they know this, is it? No second chances. There was a pause, a long one. It felt like she was weighing her options, figuring out how to proceed. Finally, she wrote back. We need to handle this quietly. No fights, no yelling. Just consequences. For both of them. I couldn't have agreed more. I didn't need to make a scene. I didn't need to scream at Derek or Laura. They'd both done their part in this little game, and they didn't deserve another moment of my attention. They'd crossed a line, and now it was time for them to face the truth. I don't know how late it got that night. It felt like we were both on the phone for hours, planning, strategizing, deciding how to make sure everything was handled the right way. It wasn't about making them pay in the way most people think of revenge. It was about making them face the truth. About making them see that their actions had consequences. Tomorrow would be the beginning. But tonight, I finally felt like I was taking back what was mine. Laura told me she was working late, again. The same line she'd been using for weeks now. I knew it was just a cover story, another excuse for her to do whatever the hell she wanted while I sat at home like a fool. This time, though, I wasn't about to let it slide. Emily had already been on top of things. She had Derek's phone tracked, smart as hell, that woman. Better than any detective I've ever seen. She sent me a text that night. He's at the motel. Room 108. Ground floor, right by the dumpsters. My heart pounded as I read it. There was no mistaking it. Derek had just walked right into the trap. Room 108. Hell, that was the perfect spot. It was on the ground floor, close to the dumpsters, out of sight, away from prying eyes. Just the kind of place you pick when you're up to no good. Pretty damn symbolic, if you ask me. I didn't waste any time. I grabbed my keys and headed for the truck. I wasn't going to just sit around and wait for Laura to come back from her work. No, I had a different plan now. It was time to show them what happens when you cross the line. The drive felt longer than it really was. Maybe it was the adrenaline, or maybe I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. My hands gripped the wheel tighter, and I tried to calm myself down. I knew what I had to do. Emily had set this up, and now all I had to do was follow through. When I pulled up to the motel, I parked a little ways away from the entrance. The place looked like one of those spots you drive by and never think twice about, flickering neon lights, an empty parking lot, and a faint smell of stale cigarettes in the air. I could see Derek's car parked near the entrance, just as Emily had said. He was here, and he wasn't planning on leaving anytime soon. I got out of the truck and kept my movement slow and deliberate, staying in the shadows as much as I could. I wasn't here to make noise or start trouble. I was here to get the truth. The quiet was suffocating, though, and the only sound I could hear was my own breathing. I could see the outline of room 108 through the dim light. It was just like Emily said, right by the dumpsters. If anyone was going to notice anything, it would have to be a damn eagle-eyed passerby, and there were no such people here. Just me, and the truth that was waiting to come out. I checked my phone one more time. Emily had confirmed that Derek was still inside. I could feel the anger building up inside me again, but I kept it in check. This wasn't about yelling, about making a scene. No, it was about laying the groundwork for the consequences that were about to come. The plan was simple. No loud confrontations, no screaming. Just quietly make sure they knew we were there. They needed to see that we knew exactly what was going on. I crouched low behind a car near the motel, waiting for Emily's signal. I didn't feel the need to rush. Derek was stuck in there, and I wasn't about to give him the chance to escape. Emily had everything lined up perfectly, and I just had to be patient. Finally, my phone buzzed with a message from her. Ready. Emily and I had already made our plan, but I wasn't prepared for how easily the motel manager handed us the key. We told him it was a family emergency, and the guy barely blinked. He didn't ask for ID or anything, just handed over the spare key like it was a regular, everyday request. I almost wanted to ask if he'd done this kind of thing before, but there was no time for small talk. My hands were shaking as I slipped the key into the lock. The closer I got, the more that familiar feeling in my gut twisted. Rage was building inside me, a slow burn that had been simmering for days, and now it was finally coming to a head. My fingers trembled as I turned the key. Everything felt like it was moving in slow motion. I didn't know what to expect when I opened that door, but I sure as hell didn't think it would be anything good. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and kicked that door open so hard it slammed against the wall with a sharp crack. There they were, Laura and Derek, right in front of me, tangled in the sheets like a pair of caught animals. They froze the second the door swung open, their eyes wide in shock. Laura screamed, high-pitched and panicked, and immediately grabbed the blanket, trying to cover herself. But it didn't matter. I had seen enough. I didn't need to see more. Derek just sat there, dumbfounded, looking like he'd been hit by a train. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. His mouth was open, but no words came out. He looked like a deer caught in headlights, completely frozen. I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I didn't need to. The silence in the room was loud enough. The only sound was the rapid breathing of both of them, and my own heart pounding in my chest. I stood there, arms crossed, staring at them. No anger in my voice, no high emotions, just cold, quiet realization. I looked at Laura first. She didn't look like the woman I'd spent the last 8 years with. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with guilt, and I could see her shaking. She didn't even try to explain. There were no excuses, no apologies. She knew there was nothing she could say that would make it okay. Derek didn't even try to get dressed. He just sat there like a damn idiot, still too shocked to move. The guy couldn't even muster the courage to stand up and face the music. That was the part that pissed me off the most. He wasn't man enough to own what he'd done. I didn't need to hear them beg. I didn't need to hear how they were sorry, or it didn't mean anything. I had no time for that. They were both standing there like the world was crashing down around them, and it should have been. The truth had finally broken through the lies. Get up, I said, my voice calm, low, like I was asking them to take out the trash. Get dressed. Laura's hand shook as she tried to cover herself with the blanket, but it was too late. I had already seen enough. I could feel the tension in the room, thick as smoke, but I didn't let it get to me. I wasn't there for a shouting match. I wasn't there to destroy them. I was there for justice. Emily was just outside the door, waiting, but I couldn't look at her just yet. I wasn't sure what I'd see in her face. I didn't want to be distracted. I had my focus on Laura and Derek, and I wasn't going to let it slip that I didn't move. I stayed right there, just standing in the doorway, watching them as they tried to pull themselves together. Laura was crying now, her eyes wet with tears, but I didn't feel sorry for her. She didn't deserve my sympathy. Derek was still sitting there, too stunned to get up. Neither of them had any idea what to do. The game was over, and they knew it. Do you have anything to say for yourselves? I asked them, my voice still calm, steady. I couldn't let myself get worked up. There was no need to. They were the ones who had crossed the line, not me. Laura tried to speak, her voice trembling. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispered. It just happened. I wasn't about to let that slide. Don't try to make excuses, I said. You knew exactly what you were doing. I stood there, watching them, letting the silence drag on. The truth was already out in the open. I didn't need to hear their pitiful attempts at justifying it. There was nothing they could say that would change what I knew. But then Emily stepped in, cool, steady, and prepared like a woman with nothing left to lose. She didn't say a word, just pulled out her phone and hit record. No screaming, no threats, just the quiet tap of justice beginning to document itself. Laura's face went ghost pale the second she saw Emily standing there. Her eyes darted between us, and the panic set in fast. Please don't do this, she sobbed, tugging the blanket tighter around herself like it could somehow shield her from what she'd done. Her voice cracked, trembling with panic. It didn't mean anything, it was a mistake. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Her voice sounded so hollow, like she was trying to convince herself as much as us. Derek, on the other hand, just sat there like a sack of wet concrete. Mumbled something about being sorry, about things getting out of hand. His words slurred into nonsense, like he was in a fog. He couldn't even meet our eyes, just stared down at the floor with a dumb, ashamed look on his face. I stood still, arms crossed, letting it all unfold. I wasn't going to raise my voice. Not worth the energy. Not for either of them. I just looked them both square in the eye and said it. Calm and cold. Hope it was worth it. That was it. That's all I needed to say. Then I turned and walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't give them the dignity of one more glance. That chapter was closed. Emily followed right behind me, still recording, face stone cold. We didn't speak until we got back to the parking lot. We exchanged a nod, and that was enough. We'd both seen what we needed to. We'd both said what needed saying. By the next day, the fire had already started to spread. Word traveled in our town faster than a diesel truck on an open highway. People talk, and stories like this, they grow legs real quick. Someone had seen my truck at the motel. Someone else had seen Derek's. And someone else, no surprise, recognized Emily standing there with her phone out. Didn't take long for dots to connect. By Monday, Laura wasn't just the talk of the town, she was the punchline. Whispers followed her everywhere. Grocery store aisles, parking lots, church pews. And Derek? Oh, he caught it too. His face, normally cocky and smug, now hung low whenever someone passed him on the street. Folks stopped calling him for jobs. Guess nobody wants wiring done by a man who can't even keep his house in order. Emily told me the PTA moms were whispering behindhands by Tuesday. Said she walked into the school office and everything went quiet as a tomb. But she didn't care. Emily's a strong one. She just held her head high and kept walking, like she'd just dusted off a stain that had been on her shirt too long. Laura called me that night. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Long one. She cried. Said she made a mistake. Said she still loved me. I deleted it halfway through. I didn't need to hear her try to spin this into something it wasn't. That kind of betrayal don't come out of nowhere. It don't just happen. That takes planning, lying, pretending. And she was real good at all three. Derek? He tried showing up at my place once. Just stood at the edge of the driveway, hands stuffed in his pockets, trying to look sorry. I walked out onto the porch, stared him down. Didn't say a word. Just stared. After about a minute of silence, he turned around and got back in his truck. Drove off without a sound. That was the last time I saw him. I just kept living. Kept moving. Started clearing out the old things from the house. Photos. Cards. Every piece of what used to be us. Packed it into a box and dropped it off at her sister's place. Didn't even write a note. She lost more than just a marriage. She lost her place beside me. And in a small town like ours, that loss echoes louder than any words ever could. First thing that next morning, I drove straight to the courthouse. Didn't even bother with breakfast. I walked in, filed for divorce, and walked out like a man who finally laid down a burden he'd been carrying too long. 8 years of marriage gone in the stroke of a pen. Strange thing was, I didn't feel sad. I felt clean. Like I'd stepped out of a smoke-filled room and finally taken a deep breath of fresh air. I made sure I did it smart. Got a lawyer, good one. Old buddy of mine from school who didn't charge me much but knew his stuff. We sorted everything fast. Laura didn't even put up a fight. I think she knew better. Maybe guilt finally got to her, Or maybe she just didn't have the nerve to drag it out in court after what she'd done. Either way, I got the house, the dogs, and my truck. The important stuff. She moved in with her parents over in Milltown, tail tucked so far between her legs I doubt she could walk straight. Word is she hasn't shown her face much since. Can't say I blame her. Emily gave Derek the boot, too, packed his bags for him, and left them out on the porch. She didn't bother yelling or crying. Just told him he had a place to go, and it sure as hell wasn't hers anymore. Last I heard, he moved into a crummy apartment over a pawn shop on the edge of town. Poetic, really. Funny how fast things can change. Just a week before, Laura was the talk of every wine night and backyard barbecue. She had that queen bee thing going on, always dressed to the nines, always the loudest laugh in the room. Now, she's a punchline. The same ladies who used to fawn over her at the salon won't even make eye contact. I didn't have to say a word. The truth took care of everything for me. As for me, I got to work. I started hitting the gym again, for days a week, sometimes 5. At first, it was just a way to blow off steam. But after a while, I started to feel like myself again. Stronger. Clearer. My hands stopped shaking. My head got quieter. There's something about pushing iron and sweating through your shirt that reminds you who the hell you are. I cleaned up the yard, fixed the back fence, even painted the shed I'd been putting off for 2 years. Felt good to build again, even if it was just little stuff. Every nail, every board, felt like I was putting myself back together, one piece at a time. The dogs stayed close through it all, like they knew I needed them. Duke and Penny, loyal as ever. They didn't care about what happened. They just curled up next to me every night, warm and quiet. No lies. No betrayals. Just the soft sound of breathing and the thump of tails on the floor when I walked in the door. I started sleeping better. Real sleep. The kind where you don't wake up in the middle of the night wondering where she is or who she's texting. Just peace. Simple, solid peace. Share your thoughts in the comments. Is public shame an effective consequence for private betrayal? If you like the story, subscribe to the channel and give us a like.